So make sure recording, because before we get started, I don't know if it's gonna pick up that well on your camera, right? But you know that photo I sent you earlier on of the tan lines?
Yes. You're going to put that in.
Oh,
hang on. Let me go to
orange they are.
There you go.
They're red.
Bright red.
Look at this. That's how red they've gone since I took that photo and I sent it to you.
That's probably the most Australian thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
For someone,
and that was like an hour, maybe a couple of hours out in the sun midday. I mean, admittedly, it was midday, so, that's stupid me. But yeah. So I went for a ride midday and just had on my riding kit and then came back and did some stuff in the backyard. And I didn't bother changing because it was going to be quick. And then I came in later on and Sharon says to me, she goes, "You're really red." I went, "Oh, well.
Did you not put sunscreen on?"
Nah.
No, sunscreen. Of course you're not. Of course you didn't. You live in Australia. Australians don't need that nonsense.
Yeah. So I got the head's a bit red too. You can see the top of my head.
Yeah. You didn't have a cap on then.
Yeah.
You didn't have your...
No. But I have had, when I've been out riding, especially on long rides, like, 8-10 hour rides, where because I'm bald, I get the gaps and I get the red lines of the bike helmet coming through my head. Yeah. So... yeah, that's always a fun thing to explain when you come to work in the morning.
Yeah. What does that mean? And I suppose, it's quite depressing because it's like 5 degrees and really cloudy and overcast and rainy and cold here. So, yeah, that is a stark contrast to where I'm currently at the moment in regards to temperature and outside activity.
Yeah, but it changes. It changes though. So
it does.
It's like you got 2 months of the year where it's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah. If that, 2 months. Yeah, it's
half,
broken up in between all the rain as well. So, yeah.
That's just where the rain's dripping off the trees, isn't it?
Yeah. Where it stopped raining for a couple of days. I'm going to do the intro now, Nathan. Are you ready?
I can't wait.
Born ready. Right, let's do this.
I'm excited.
Hi, guys. Welcome. He's talking over me. Right, I'm going to do that again. Right. Professionalism at its best. Right, Nathan, are you ready for me to do the intro? He's not talking at all now. Hi guys, and welcome to this week's episode of Ryan Condon Unscripted. I've got a really good episode for you this week. I've gone back to a familiar guest, someone that was on one of my first ever podcast episodes back in the day. It wasn't that long ago. I haven't been doing this for that long. However, when I recorded it with him previously, it was audio only. So this is the first time that you're going to see him on my podcast in full sunburnt red glory. Here we go. Nathan Krake from YouTube in fame and Zwift in fame. I always big it up. Hi, Nathan. Welcome to my podcast.
Ryan, mate, love being on the podcast. Thank you very much for having me back. I was just going to say, I do like being a guest. I love being a guest on a podcast. Running a podcast is insanely difficult. My hat's off to you for persevering with it. I love just being able to just swan in, click a button, and then watch you stress about how the audio's not working and you can't hear me and I can't hear you, and it's fantastic. So thank you for having me. It's going to be great. Looking forward to this.
I'm really looking forward to this. It is going to be a good chat. So I will say, for those that are watching and listening, Nathan was originally in season 1. I think it was episode 3 or 4. You'd have to go back and check those out if you're interested.
It was later than that, like season 8, episode 8.
Oh, was it? Okay, fair enough. Oh, yeah. You made notes. I like it. So, look, anyone, I'll put the link in the description for anyone that's watching or listening. Then you can go back in and have a listen, because it was a really, really good chat. But I enjoyed it so much, and I was conscious that we hadn't video recorded it. It was audio only. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to kind of chat about where we are at the moment. There's a few subjects that I want to talk over with you, which are, kind of how your Christmas went, talk about, all the family drama that goes on with Christmas, overeating, eating too much, not enough exercise. So I thought it'd be fun to have a little chat about that. Both as two, family men, two dads, it's a pretty stressful time of year, and like everyone, we always overdo it. So it'll be good to talk about what our plans are for Jan now. We're halfway through January as we record this. By the time it goes live on my second channel, my podcast channel, it probably will be towards the end of Jan, maybe even into February. So if you're watching this on Patreon, thank you very much for your support. You're getting this pretty much the day after we record it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about potentially dry January, veganuary, get your views on that as an Australian carnivore. I know you guys love your barbecues and your steaks, so it'll be fun to kind of what beer do you drink out there? Is it Foster's? You don't drink Foster's, do you? No. It's all sort of bespoke. I'm actually got a quite a nice little pale ale going at the moment, but no, we've got a range of beers. It's all very locally brewed. There's lots of local brewers, like small micro breweries around here. So you enjoy them?
Plenty to choose. Well, I'm not a big beer fan, I'll admit. I don't mind a beer, especially after like riding or being outside for the day, doing some stuff. But I would probably say I'm more of a wine kind of guy. Okay. I don't mind
sophisticated.
I like good wine.
Yeah. Okay.
So and then I'll dabble into the gins and vodkas a bit later on the night, but
depending on what day of the week it is. But good. So we'll get into that. We'll talk about dry January, veganuary, all that sort of jazz, because it feels like there's a lot of that going on around me at the moment. So it feels very relevant.
Yep.
All my friends and family. Anyway, we'll talk about that. And New Year's resolutions. So perfect time of year. We still got 11 months left of this year to talk about what we're going to want to achieve, what sort of things we're going to aim for the sky, aim for the stars, might hit the moon sort of mentality.
Yep.
So we're going to get into that. And then there's a few other things. I want to talk about a race that we very recently had. I say you DS'd, I was the racer. So that's this, by the way, guys, if you're listening to this on my YouTube channel, the video is now live on my channel. Please go and check it out after you've listened to this if you haven't done so already. Nathan was a superstar. The best DS I've ever had.
You're talking up far too much. But to be fair, though, it was me that won the race.
Listen, I don't know how I won that race, Nathan. I've got to be honest. I didn't win it, by the way. It feels like I won it.
Puppet. I was pulling all the strings.
Yeah. I should say, we're not going to do any spoilers in case somebody hasn't seen it and they want to go and watch it. And I don't want to ruin the end. It is a really, really good video. Probably one of the best videos, even if I do say so myself, probably one of the best videos I've ever made. I had so much fun making it, and Nathan was a big part of that. So we're going to get into detail and talk about that as well. So sounds like it's going to be a good episode.
Awesome. Can't wait. This is going to be great.
Good. So let's kick it off then. What time is it there where you are at the moment? Just out of interest.
It is 10:02 p.m. here in Melbourne, Australia, which is in Victoria, for those that maybe aren't familiar with Melbourne. So we are down south. But it's been a hot day today.
Yeah. What temperature is it?
30 degrees, was it?
30 degrees.
Well, I know. It's about... I can actually tell you. Hang on a second. Hold on.
You've got an app.
No.
I've got to be honest, looking at the colour of your arms and your head, I don't think we need an app to tell us that it's pretty warm out and it's pretty sunny.
So I've got this. Okay, so any good barbecue is going to have some sort of barbecuing prong that they stick into the meat to get the temperature. And it's currently 29 degrees. Wow, you can see that. Just tilt that. There we go. 28. There we go. So it's 28 degrees here. It was about... it's probably a bit warm inside, only because I'm in the bike studio that I'm in. There's no air conditioning, and there's computers and stuff all around and lights and things, and so it gets quite warm, and the heat stays in here, which is it's not bad, but it's great in the winter because it's much nicer. But in the summer when you're cycling in here, not so great.
Yeah.
But I was out riding today, and it was like 30 degrees, and that's kind of where I got the bit burnt, and like. Yeah, so I was showing this earlier on, but my tan lines are on point. So any good cyclist, cyclist that's outdoors a lot, cultivates a good tan line set.
It is apparently it's a badge of honor, isn't it? A good tan
line. Yeah, exactly. And of course, depending on the lengths of your sleeves, you might get a little bit of was it the... No. What's the word for ice cream where you get chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry? Or
Neapolitan.
One bucket. That's it. Yeah. So if you're lucky, you can kind of get that happening.
Yeah.
As well.
See, the problem is the problem I face is two problems I face, which is I live in the UK, so we don't get a lot of sun, and if we're lucky, we might have maybe a week throughout the entire summer that it kind of gets to the point where you can get that kind of tan line. And the second problem I face is, as you can probably tell from my ginger beard, is I've got quite a lot of Celtic blood in me, and Celtic, you don't go, all you do, I go bright red, stay bright red, and then don't tan. That's it. Yeah. So, I struggle with the sun.
To be fair, I haven't been in the sun a lot recently, so this is actually quite pronounced. But it will tan nicely, and by the time I get to Adelaide in about, where are we? This is Saturday here, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It's about 3 days. I'll be over towards the west in Australia to South Australia. And so heading over to Adelaide, they've got the tour down under there, which is a 7-day, 7-stage mini tour with lots of the world's professionals. They come down. It's a really difficult race, actually, because of the heat. It does top out somewhere between 40 and 45 degrees Celsius on most of the days. So it is quite a brutal race, and there's lots of climbs, and they're quite long. So it's going to be great. We're getting over there with the Australia Zwifting Club, AHDR. So there's a lot of the guys have already organised. We're all going to get over there. Going to spend a few days over there riding with those guys, catching up with them, which is going to be fantastic. So my tan lines are going to be on point. I can't wait.
It's going to be good.
So there you go.
Excellent. So let me ask you, how's your Christmas been?
It was wonderful. It was really good. So Christmas in Australia, obviously, it's always hot.
Yeah.
We bought, and this is going to dovetail into your discussion about what was it?
New Year's resolutions.
Veganuary.
Oh, no, Veganuary.
Veganuary.
Yes.
I love that term. Veganuary. So I went, because I've been thinking about buying a spit, and which is basically a rotisserie, stick it outside. It's in a little thing, and you turn it on, and just the meat turns for hours. And you put coals in there. So I've been researching it and looking into it. And there's a what would be in the UK? What's like a big box hardware store for
B&Q
hardware tools?
Yeah, there's a huge, massive warehouse of, they're massive. They're all up and down the country, called B&Q. I don't know what B&Q stands for, but that's what they're called.
In Australia, it's called Bunnings.
Yeah.
And so I often go there on the weekends, and so they had like an $85 one, like a super, super cheap. It's like, if this is going to work, I can make it work with something cheap, and then I can upgrade it later on. So went and bought a spit, looked up all the coals that I needed, all the wood and everything else I needed to make it work. And so for leading up to Christmas, we had some friends over, and we had got this really nice 2-kilo leg of lamb, threw that on there. That was awesome. And then on Christmas Day, we had a traditional, but a pork, like a big chunk of pork. So we threw that on there too. So it was like 30 degrees outside, and we're sitting out in our deck area, and we've got this pork turning over. I'm just throwing this apple wood on there every now and then to get the smoking happening, and the smell of the wood through the pork, and it turned out fantastic. I do have, I'll send it to you. You can edit it and put this in. I've got a great little video of me just testing the crackling on the pork. It sounded awesome. Didn't come off as well as I'd hoped.
I will say, completely, transparent. As a vegan, I am 100%.
As a vegan, I know.
I'm 100% not putting you testing crackling on one of my videos.
People are gonna love it. It's gonna be great.
As much as I'm happy for other people to share their experiences, I'm not.
You gotta appeal to a range of your.
I do.
Range
yeah.
of range
yeah.
of
No, listen. I'm one of them vegans where I don't bang on about it, and I think they always say, "What's the term when it comes to being a vegan?" I think me and Tracy were talking about this on a podcast episode, a few back, about being vegan, which is, how do you know if someone's vegan?
Oh, they'll tell you.
They'll tell you. So I'm not. I like to think I'm not one of them where I lead with that as being my identity. I don't see my identity as being, a vegan. So I'm open.
Except the fact that you won't put my crackling on the show.
Yeah, I'm not doing carnivore propaganda for you.
Okay.
Yeah. Only if you will put on your channel me eating a nut roast.
Yeah, sure. Hang on. What kind of nut roast?
And we'll change the subject. We won't go down that road. But yeah, while we're on the subject of veganuary, then, or vegans and carnivores, let's talk about veganuary. So
yes,
we were
tell
talking,
me about it. What's the deal?
Well, I was going to say to you, we were talking about this before the episode when we were just covering off the things that we were going to talk about, and I asked you if you'd heard of it before. Never heard of veganuary.
Not a thing here in Australia.
It hasn't made it to Oz. It will do. So I don't know where it came from, but all the big supermarkets here in the UK, so, our big supermarkets, Tesco's, Sainsbury's, Aldi, Lidl, the big chains, they do a thing every January, where they promote the vegan or plant-based, because there's a difference between vegan and plant-based. They promote those products in the sense that they do free for two, or buy one get one free, or they have a bigger range, a bigger stock.
Is that because they just can't sell it beforehand, or?
I knew this was going to be a bad subject. Talking about veganism or going meat free with an Aussie is a very, very bad idea. It's like
it's going to be great. No,
I'm poking the bear.
I want to learn.
You don't want to learn. You don't. But I really appreciate you entertaining me. But yeah, and it's a thing where, and the reason why I mention it is, obviously I'm vegan. I don't do veganuary, but we love it Tracy loves it because she gets to try new products that we don't see throughout the rest of the year. So when she goes to the supermarket, she always comes home with something new. And this month, there's always a star product that she finds. Mm-hmm. And this month's star product is something unusual. It's nothing to do with meat. It's to do with dairy, which is, I don't know if you do you have Mars bars in Australia?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mars bars, but they make an ice cream version in the UK. And they used to be, when I was a kid, they used to be my favourite dessert. My nan used to go, when I used to go over my nan's, I was really close with my nan. She's no longer with us, unfortunately, but she used to go specifically for me. She had loads of grandkids, but I was her favourite. And she used to specifically go.
Of course you were.
Of course. And she used to specifically go and get me these Mars bar ice creams. They were brilliant, and they were my favourite thing in the whole world. And they always remind me of my nan. Yep. But since we went vegan, obviously I can't eat them because they're dairy. Mars bars, milk chocolate, and full of ice cream, full of dairy. Yeah. However, Tracy discovered this month, only a couple of weeks ago, vegan versions of these Mars bar ice creams. They're called, I don't know why, they're called Titan, and they're sold in Lidl and or Aldi.
And so what are they made of?
They're, God knows. I had no idea. We didn't look at the ingredients other than the fact that we knew they were vegan. But I was over the moon. Listen, when you eat a dessert, you don't eat it for its nutritional value. You eat it because it tastes nice and it's a treat.
That's why we eat ice cream.
Yeah, and, it was something which we were happy with. But the reason why... Well, I mean, we were blown away by that because it was something which it kind of brought a tear to my eye a little bit. I was eating one of my old favourite desserts.
Yeah, it's fantastic when you try to when you go down a particular path and you find that there's restrictions. Like, so I did this ages ago when I was just basically trying to cut sugar out of my diet completely. Yeah, and it's incredibly hard. And every time you go out to a restaurant or you go anywhere, there's sugar in everything. Like, you just can't get past it. And so when you find something that's actually quite tasty and nice and it's sugar-free, like nicely sugar-free, not, NutraSweet or some sort of chemical thrown in there, you're wrapped. You're like, it's amazing. It's great. No, I completely get what you're saying.
Yeah, and with sugar, I always find it's really hard. I understand what you mean, because when people say they're removing sugar from their diet, I've done that. I actively, other than the fact that I've just spent the last minute and a half talking about eating vegan versions of Mars bar ice creams, I don't eat any sugar. I make that an active decision. But you're right, there's loads of things that you can eat as part of your normal diet that are just stacked with sugar. Like the other day, my missus was saying, we were talking about cutting out sugar, and I'm making jam on toast for breakfast. And jam is literally 50% sugar, and you just, it's ridiculous.
Huge amount. Yeah. Well, I remember, it's a quick side note, I remember, so we go to the supermarket with the kids, and with the kids are starting to get a little bit older, and they'd be going, we want Cocoa Pops, we want, Fruit Loops, all these really sugary things for breakfast. And I got sick of saying no to them. I said, no, you can't have it. No, we don't. Why can't we have it? I said, there's too much sugar in there. And they said, what do you mean? So I said, okay, come and have a look at this. Turn over the box. Have a look at the ingredients. And so where it says like there's, 20 grams of, 20 grams? Was it? Yeah. Is it 4 grams per teaspoon?
Yeah.
I think that's where it works out. So 20 grams of sugar in a serving of whatever the cereal they were going to buy. I said, imagine just tipping 5 teaspoons of sugar into that to eat every time. They went, oh. I said, if you can find any cereal here that's under 12 grams, I'll buy it for you.
Yeah.
And they got really dismayed because they just couldn't find anything aside from like muesli and some really healthy organic stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they got really upset. Yeah. They couldn't find anything.
I eat these. I'm a huge cereal eater. I love cereal. We've gone right off on a tangent here, but I will eat half a bowl of cereal as a snack, in the evening instead of or fruit. If I'm not feeling like I fancy a banana, I might have a bowl of cereal. If I haven't had a big dinner and I've had a whatever, I'll have a snack with a bowl of cereal instead of eating a bag of crisps or a chocolate bar, which is what I would have done back in the day. But the cereal I do eat is like a wheat. It's not called Wheatos. I can't remember what it's called, but they're like these wheat grain things that I think are okay. But yeah, it's sugar is very hard, and I find sugar can be very addictive as well. Very addictive. When you try and cut it out of your diet, it's almost as bad as trying to quit smoking or quit the booze.
Man, the sugar industry, they're right up there with drug cartels in terms of the addictiveness.
Yeah, it is. And people put it in their food just to make it more palatable, don't they?
Like all the time. Yeah, all the time.
Right. Okay. So Veganuary, reason why I want to talk about that is because a lot of my friends and family go in for it. Big meat eaters. They do a thing where they cut out for an entire month eating meat.
All meat.
Yeah, and that's it. And it's a thing every year. More and more people are doing it. And it goes hand in hand with Dry January. Now, I'm assuming you've heard of Dry January.
Yes, I know of it.
You know of it.
I've heard of this idea.
Yes, this concept for strange
people. Very
people.
unpopular here in Australia.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, not something you're doing this month?
No. There's moderation.
Reining it back in after Christmas.
It doesn't sound as great. Yeah, it doesn't sound as great. I can't work out a way to say it like January moderation. But we also have Dry July as well, so we do it twice.
Okay.
So there are, I do know of people that actually, go ahead and do it. And look, it's a fantastic thing. I am certainly not going to say to anyone, don't drink alcohol, like do not drink alcohol.
Yeah.
So alcohol's a killer, but
I've got a different view on this, which you're probably not surprised by, which, I'm someone who's I've been quite open about my journey with alcohol. I'm not going to go into it now because I've spoken about it quite a lot. And it's probably boring for a lot of people that have listened to my content. However, I think that the problem with doing something like this is a serious conversation now, which is unlike us. But rather than doing something like Dry January, which I think can actually be quite detrimental because you're coming out of a really boozy period. So Christmas naturally for a lot of people, and it was for me. Back in 2018, Christmas was an incredibly unhealthy, boozy, gluttonous period of time. And then I'd come into January and attempt Dry January. I never got very far. I'd be lucky if I did 3 days. And then if I did 3 days, it was like a miracle. But a lot of people do it. They do Dry January. But the problem is, statistically, and this has been proven because a lot of people talk about it at this time of year, you go into February and over-index because of your period in Dry January. So you think to yourself, 2 things happen. You've missed it, so you compensate by drinking more because you've missed it, and you celebrate the fact you've got to the end of January. But also you think to yourself, well, I've had that good period, so I've got some goodwill in the bank. I can over-index and it won't hurt me. So then you're back to square one. And in some instances, you're actually worse off than if you'd have just stuck to your normal routine through January.
Yeah.
So
completely. I'm on board with what you're saying, 100%. I don't know how I can. So what we do is what we try and do is we'll back it off, and so we'll do like, Monday through Thursday. All right, so no alcohol. Okay, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Then depending on whether it, friends' places, we've got friends over, that type of thing. So we try and at least cut out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday out of the drinking regime, and then on the weekend, not go hard, but certainly allow yourself that little reprieve. And we find that's a pretty good way for us to mitigate it. And of course, Sharon and I are both very active people, and so in my mind, much like you're saying before, I feel like I've got some goodwill in the bank with the exercise I do and the riding I do, and then having a few beers or wines at the the end of the week, it kind of balances out. I don't know if that's
I mean, look, it's
that scientific.
I don't know. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a GP. I don't know what the benefits are to kind of doing it that way. I was never in a place where I was able to be that disciplined. You know this. I've told you this already. I was in a place where it was all or nothing. I couldn't moderate my drinking. My drinking was out of control. So I had to stop, and that's an understatement. I'm playing it down so this doesn't get all doom and gloom. But my view on it, and this isn't something which I know a lot of people hold this view. However, it's one of those things where I think that we trick ourselves to believing that if we do a whole month with no alcohol, I've said it already, we then celebrate that and overcompensate and then think to ourselves, we're okay because, we've got the money in the bank, as it were. But then you've got the other aspect, which is I never saw the benefits of stopping drinking. I'd been drinking for years and years and years. I had a very stressful job, massively sociable job. When I say sociable, I mean as in I was expected to go out for my job and entertain clients and drink a lot and be, one of the boys.
Booze it up.
Lads on tour. And I never saw the benefits of stopping drinking until 90, 100 days. It was only at 90, 100 days, 3 months of no alcohol, zero alcohol, until I felt my eyes became brighter. Strange things. I stopped having headaches.
Skin clears up.
My sleep, Nathan. My sleep. Oh my God. I have never slept so well since quitting alcohol. I don't think I've ever, my brain's more active, which can be great for when I'm doing stuff like this, where I want to be active and I want to be engaging, but there's also an aspect which is when you go. One of the things I do have, which is probably when I was drinking, I'd hit the pillow and pass out, like sleep. Yeah, but it wasn't good sleep. It wasn't deep.
Is it a dead sleep?
It was dead sleep. You was unconscious. Yeah. Whereas now I go to bed and I have to entertain myself in bed because I'm lying there staring at the ceiling with all my brain still wired. Yeah. So it's the opposite. Yeah. But I have got a really good routine now where I kind of, calm myself down and relax myself into sleep. But when I am asleep, oh my God, the biggest benefit of quitting alcohol, the ability to wake up feeling refreshed. And I don't need as much now. Whereas before, I would need 8, 9, maybe even 10 hours at the weekend to recover from my activities the day before. Now I can operate potentially sometimes on 6 hours, and I know you're quite similar with sleep, aren't you? You don't have
like
sleep.
5-6 hours. So we'll finish this up in probably an hour or so, or I'll get to bed at about 12, and then I'll be up at 5 to get ready to go and do a ride down the coast. It's like it does catch up. Like that kind of sleep. It's good if you get used to it. But it does catch up, and there are days where I go, man, I'm just going to lie in bed. Yeah. But I completely, man, I can't say how proud I am of you for the way you've approached the drinking thing. Like, thanks, you're completely correct, and it's a discussion that Sharon and I have quite a lot, which is, are we drinking too much?
Yeah. We all do it. We all talk like that. It's not just you and Sharon. It's a common question that people won't admit to it because it's a massively taboo subject. Nobody wants to come out and say that they are dependent on booze. Nobody wants to say. I'm not saying you are, by the way. I'm just saying it's a taboo subject.
No, completely get it. Like, even the subtle things. So like, we'll come home even on a Monday or Tuesday night. Tuesday nights, well, a little bit. Well, Tuesday nights happens as well. Like Monday night, come home, start of the week. Oh, we start dinner. We think, we've had a busy start to the week. we'll crack open a bottle of wine, or, a bottle of white, and then the two of us, we'll knock that back. We can knock that back within just cooking dinner.
Yeah.
And then you're having dinner and you're going, oh, do you want another drink? Yeah, we'll still got the half bottle from the other night. Let's just finish that off. And then, there's a bottle and a half gone. And it's, that's a really easy, regime to sort of creep into.
It is. Yeah.
And as you say, people don't want to say, I drink every night. And look, there's been time, like I'll say, there's been times there, like weeks where we drink every night. And it's not like you're drinking to excess, like you're saying, where you just hit the pillow and pass out. But, drinking a bottle of wine each a night isn't exactly healthy either.
No. No.
So it's and to everyone that out there that has their own experience, their experience with alcohol, and everyone's different and their journeys are different. All I can say is that just do what you can do. So like you're saying, go trying to give up for a month, and then you kind of get discouraged because you don't see any results, you don't see any difference, you're not feeling any different, you haven't lost weight. You're still sleeping the same, and you think, well, what's the point? But it is worthwhile. It is a journey, and you just need to find your own path to discover what works best for you. And just don't get hard on yourself. Like, don't get down on yourself. Everyone, smokers as well. I know I gave up smoking. Every smoker I knew had the same journey. You relapse, you get back on it, and it's just, don't beat yourself up when it happens.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think the important thing is, and I always say this, and it doesn't need to be extreme. To a word like alcohol or alcoholic or alcoholism is quite it's a loaded word that people don't like to have labelled with them. And I would describe myself as an alcoholic. I was an alcoholic, but I never thought that at the time, and I would never have said that. And if you'd have called me an alcoholic, I would have been offended. And it's a cliche, but it was only when I recognised I had an issue. Like Tracy was saying it to me for ages. It was only when I recognised I had an issue that I actually said to myself, look, I need to do something. And something like Dry January was really hard for me because I'd see other people do it and I couldn't do it. It was like watching someone run a 2-hour marathon. It's great seeing other people do it. I felt but it was the pressure of feeling that I needed to be able to do it that made me realise that I had an issue, that I wasn't able to do it, if you understand what I mean.
To do it,
So it was a really crappy time of year that I did not look forward to at all. It was, and it was coming out of Christmas and I'd overdone it. I was massively overweight.
Yeah, man. And it's really hard, like in Australia especially. Like, I think it's a bit different now. So, but it used to be that you'd rock up somewhere like to a barbecue or a party or something like that, and someone would say, "Can I get you a drink?" And you might respond, "Oh no, I'm not drinking," and they would look at you just strange, like call friends over, like he's not drink. Why are you not drinking?
Yeah.
Is there something wrong? Are you sick? With a woman, like, are you pregnant? Why are you drinking?
Are you the designated driver?
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I make a really distinct effort now. Like, can I get you something? And they turn around and say water, have a couple of choices of water, soft drink. I've got some different soft drinks. We usually end up sort of having like some sort of fruit mocktail thing going on as well. So we have variations because I know the shit show that people put you under because you're not drinking anymore. It's like, well, it doesn't have to be that way.
It was like that. When I first quit at work, it became, a major problem, especially for my bosses. My bosses didn't. I'd still go out. I would be more engaged because, 2 hours into it.
Alert.
Yeah, 2 hours into it, I was still talking to the clients, but I was having a proper conversation rather than a boozed up, slurred one. It was strange. And then I had the other. Now I've got the other end of the spectrum, which is when I go out with my friend. Obviously, I don't work in that job anymore. I had to leave it for me to be able to give up booze. But now I'm in a place where when I go out with friends and family, they don't ask me anymore. So I've got the other end of the spectrum, which is, you were talking about people going, "Oh, why aren't you drinking?" Now they go around. Who wants to drink? Who wants to drink? Oh, he doesn't drink. I'll skip him out. And I was like, I still quite like a glass of Coke, whatever. Diet Coke.
Ask me, Like, if you got a nice juice you've made or something,
it's or a cup of coffee.
I think, and it's interesting because I think you'll find the people that get upset with you that where you've given up something, And it doesn't have to be just alcohol, but yeah, when you give up alcohol, the people that get upset with you the most are the ones, I think, that know that they have a problem as well.
It's the same with weight loss. It's the same. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
I don't think they think they got a problem. I think they it's like holding a mirror up and saying that they know they should be doing so. It's the same feeling I had going into January when I was drinking and was overeating and was not exercising. I was going into a month where people were going on diets. People were giving up meat. I was a big meat eater. Yeah. I drank for England. And everyone was like, right, okay, we need to ease off on this. We need to lose loads of weight, And I was the other end of the spectrum.
I love it.
So it was holding a mirror up to me. Now, I don't like talking about how other people feel because I don't want to tell someone how they feel. But for me,
what they should do.
It was holding a mirror up that said you need to do more. And I did the classic thing, which was, oh, look at him. He's losing weight. He doesn't look well. He's obviously ill, which is what I get. And it's crazy. It's a crazy time of year, and there's a lot of expectation. And as you said already, the advice I'd give to anyone listening to this is give yourself a break first off. Don't buy in, don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't buy into everyone else's expectations on you. What you decide to want to do, if it's anything that gets you off the sofa, anything that reduces the amount you're eating, if you are overeating, that is, reduces that. Anything that reduces your alcohol in consumption is a good thing.
And improves your life quality. As I said, don't beat yourself up. It happens, and we'll get into this a bit later, actually, because I know we're going to probably talk about it. But where even if you are very active and you're very motivated, and you've hit you're progressing and you're quite good at whatever you've chosen to do, whether it be gym, riding, running, swimming, whatever kind of situation you're in, even if you feel yourself sort of starting to slip off that at that level that you're known for, and you start to slip off that, again, don't beat yourself up. I've found it's like a roller coaster. There's going to be times there, and if you're starting out on January and you've got some great ideas for and enthusiasm, you're going to find that you're going to hit these little down bits, and then you'll go up again, and there'll be some more down bits. And so, just don't beat yourself up. Like, give yourself a chance.
If you fall off the wagon, don't quit. Get back on the wagon.
No, just
keep going.
Get back on.
Yeah, keep giving. If you have a bad day, don't make it 2 bad days. If you do have 2 bad days, don't make it 3.
Don't make it a week. And if you do, then know that at some point your mindset will change again and you'll get back into it.
That's it.
That's what I've always found.
Oh, I like it. It's positive vibes, Nathan.
Yeah.
New Year's resolutions. What are yours?
It's interesting because I've had a lot of people ask me this, and I've got to say that I really don't have like a particular thing I want to change. Well, now having said that, I do actually. No, I do.
Hang on.
You don't need anything.
You don't want anything to change. Is that because you're so fit and just anything you turn your hand to, you achieve? It's just not worth the effort.
I do want to make a much more of a concerted effort in my social media content creation. I've kind of allowed it to slip and to fall and to not be as I haven't been as enthusiastic about it as I want to be. So that's my big New Year's resolution. My second one, and I kind of started this journey towards the end of last year, I want to be able to race in the higher categories and win a race. So that's going to be my goal moving forward, at least into the first half of this year. So I don't know what that journey is going to look like. I don't know how far that's going to go, but I do want to get better because I've hit a bit of a dead spot at the moment. I've certainly come down, and I've got a thought on this too. I'll tell you in a second. But I've hit a bit of a dead spot, and now I'm struggling to try and get out of that. So I'm sort of like that roller coaster ride I was talking about earlier on. Coming in sort of the second half of last year when I was racing on Zwift inside, I was probably, guaranteed a top 10 place in almost every race that I was in. And as I was saying to Ryan earlier, probably out of every 4 or 5 races would be a podium finish, and maybe 1 out of every or 2 out of every 10 races was a win. So that's kind of where I was at. And then towards the end of last year, that just fell away. And so I was finishing like 45th, 50th, 55th, and in some cases, I just didn't finish the race. I just completely bailed out of the race.
Yeah.
And so I want this year to be different. And I know that's going to come back up again, but I want to accelerate that and take that upswing and really latch onto it and see how far I can properly take that. I've got lots of other people around me who are doing fantastic things in their races, and it's encouraging to see that. And I want to try and see where I can go with a really concerted, focused effort. So that's my goal.
I like it.
So content creation and winning some
Zwift
really
races.
Good hardcore races.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to be honest, listening to you say it there, you sounded very passionate. So I've got no doubt that you're going to achieve this.
Everything's doable. Like, it's all possible.
Yeah.
You know, how it all manifests, we'll find that part out.
Because you have been...
And there's a whole bunch of... Sorry?
I was just going to say, you're a keen Zwifter. It's how we met.
Yeah.
It's how we know each other. We know each other through Zwift. So... Are you going to combine your content creation, your streaming with Zwift? Is that what you mean?
I want to do something more. I want to extend that and do better when it comes to my content creation just with Zwift, because I almost solely just stream my races live or my rides live. And we're going to get into this in a moment, like in a little bit too. So sit in for that, because I'm going to convince Ryan that he needs to stream at least one of his races live.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to come back to that. But I stream all of my content live, and I feel that it's a really great way to do it if you can have your setup the right way. You know, you've got to have it all kind of set up. Otherwise, it kind of looks a little bit, a little bit boring. But if you've got it all set up really nicely and it works really well, I'll tell you what, it's really fun to do. And the instant feedback you get from the people that are watching, and the motivation you get from the people that are encouraging you live in the chat, and it's from all around the world, is fantastic. And like, sometimes it's a bit brutal, because it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to stop. This hurts a lot. I can't keep going. But then you find that motivation. Someone says something that you go, oh, okay, yeah, that's done it. A little trigger's been switched, and it's like you're off again. So that's sort of where I've been. But I want to extend that whole content creation to something a bit more outside. I want to do more of those experiences, especially for people who probably don't ride outside a lot or don't do it as often. I want to do more content about, the experience of riding outside, the experiences of riding in pelotons, in groups. When I say pelotons, in groups. So those experiences, all those little nuances that people sort of, maybe who do it often, take for granted, that other people just don't appreciate. Like, they don't understand how difficult it is riding in groups and all these sorts of things, but also the fantastic places that I know that I've gotten to see. And I'll tell you one thing, Ryan, and I know I'm taking up a lot of talk time here, but one of the things that someone said to me, an old goat, like this old climber that I was talking to one day in a coffee shop, he goes, you never see as much of your country where you live as you do when you're riding. And he was absolutely spot on. Like, you can live in a place for 40 years and drive around and you think you know the place, but when you ride around it, you just see a whole different level. Okay, so I'll give you an example. When we would do like early morning rides, around where I live now, but in another suburb, you smell like the wood fires burning as you pass people's places. You smell, when you go past the bakery, you smell the bread being baked. You can smell the difference between petrol cars and diesel cars as they pass you, or trucks. Around the seaside, where I used to live as well, there'd be like little fish shops, and you'd smell the fish. Like down Port Melbourne, around the bay, you could smell the rotting seaweed. And
I've got to be honest, you're not selling it. You started off really well with the bakery, but now you've moved down to diesel, fish, and rotting flesh.
But then you get the fresh air, and you get but you see a whole bunch of stuff.
For me, I will agree. I just want to reaffirm what you're saying, because I come at it from a different angle, which is a complete non-cyclist who is this year one of my resolutions is to become a much more competent cyclist. And what I mean by that is get outside more, because I could very easily just stay on Zwift for the entire 12 months. That wouldn't be much fun for my YouTube channel, for my viewers. I know a lot of people enjoy watching my Zwifting, but I also want to get out there and enjoy it. Now, what I love about cycling, and this comes back to your point, which is I am a keen runner. I've done a lot of running. And when I go outside and run, you don't go very far. Even on a long run, even if I'm just doing, even if I'm doing a 10 miler, that's quite a long way for a run. It takes a lot of time out of your day, but I don't see very much of my area. When I go on a bike, that same time it would take me to run 10 miles, I can get, probably 3, 4, 5 times the distance. So I can see more of my immediate vicinity. And I love that. I love the idea that when I did London to Brighton, I was able to do 64 miles. I saw so much of the country, especially the southeast, going into Kent, or going down towards Brighton, and coming out of London. It was just 1 minute I'm in the metropolis, the next minute I'm in hillside and greenery. It's just amazing. I just wouldn't see that running. If I was to do that same sort of event running, starting in London, I'd end it just outside London maybe. I wouldn't see half the stuff I saw. So I agree. I completely agree.
No, and it's fantastic, and that's the thing. And of course, the other thing is, and I really want to do something here, the stops. So even if it's been a hard ride, and it's a great ride that's I'll be joining in tomorrow morning. They start out it's a fair way from here, so I got to drive over there to meet these guys. But there's about 20 or 30 of these guys. They're all mixed age, so my age and older. I think one of the oldest guys is like in his mid 60s. He still smashes it. And then they've got young guys, A graders, that kind of thing. And so it's a real mixed bag. But these guys are super fast, really a really good bunch of riders. But then it's the cafe stop when we get to the finish, and we sit around for an hour just talking about the kind of stuff we're talking about right now. It ranges from what kind of shoes you got, what kind of bikes you got, to the kind of work you do, your family life, you're divorced, you're not divorced. What's going on, holidays, where you're traveling to. And it's just so fantastic, the differences that people have in terms of the jobs they do, where they lived, where they have lived, what's brought them to Australia if they haven't been born here. And that's like an aspect of it that I really want to try and capture. And so that's the fantastic, those fantastic mornings. There's a Saturday morning, the sun's kind of just streaming through. It's like 10:30. You've done a solid workout, and you get to talk to these guys and get that experience. It's just really great. So coming back to that New Year's resolution, that's the kind of thing that I want to try and do more of, and bring back to my channel, and hopefully give people a sense of what it's like, especially in Australia, to get out on the road and have a bit of fun. So
sounds good.
Really looking forward to doing that. Yeah,
excellent. So you mentioned we already mentioned at the beginning of this video, we'll come on to the streaming, because you've mentioned about the content creation and persuading me to stream. We'll come on to that in a sec, because I've also got a bit of a teaser for an upcoming episode as well. But we'll come on to that. We recently did a race where I entered into a low end CAT C race. So it was top end 390, I think, and my racing score at the time when I entered into it was 376. So that's,
was it 376 or was it 369? 376.
I think it was 376. It was in the 370s. Yeah. And I entered into, because I wasn't feeling overly confident. I've had a bout of unsuccessful. I've had a couple of good races, mixed bag, but I'd also had a couple of bouts of not so successful, and I'd been racing in the higher category, which probably was, I was being unfair on myself, because I'd racing in the category that topped out at, what is it, 450? No, what's the category you race in?
It's like 350 to 390 to 520.
Yes. So I'd been racing a few races in that group, and I'd had a mixed bag result, obviously, because it's topping out at 520. So obviously I'm going to be racing much better riders. So I went into this race with that same sort of mentality, which is hold on for dear life, hopefully get to the end, and then sprint, have the opportunity to sprint and see what happens. Because for me at the moment, my mindset is still, and it probably shouldn't be anymore, but my mindset is to just get to the end. And if I get to the end, I've had a good race. with the lead group. And I should now probably up that expectation to I should be getting to the end and sprinting.
I told you this. Yeah. You should be absolutely thinking about now, when you get towards the end, you should be thinking about your strategies.
Yes.
And working out like who are the races that you need to be focused on.
Yeah.
And that's where you probably need to do a little bit of analysis before you get into the race. Look at Zwift power, see who's signed up. I
never do that.
See who's got, good sprints, good 20-minute power, good 5-minute power, and sort of try and identify those guys in the race, because they're the ones you're going to have to follow if there's a break or you got to watch for the sprint. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
No, it's good. So, this is stuff that I don't do. And this is where you came into play very much so. So we were chatting about a race because we had done one together. And then I was talking about doing another one. And you suggested you were going to DS me. Now, you have a way of DSing which, I got to be honest, I don't know whether this is something which is quite common on Zwift. I've never seen anything like this. You reminded me, have you seen the movie Apollo 13 with Tom Hanks? And you've got the flight director. You've got the flight director of NASA with all the terminals. That's how I pictured you, with all the terminals around you. Zwift Power Live. You've got Zwift up. You're fan viewing me. You've got God knows how many different screens with different websites up. You're looking into my ancestral records, pulling up my birth certificate.
I was checking your DNA out.
You had everything. You had everything in front of you. And then I went into this race with you in my ear the entire time, telling me exactly what to do. And it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. One of the best experiences on Zwift. One of the best races I've enjoyed. Now, don't spoil the end, in case anyone that's watching this hasn't seen that video. But the ending...
Well, there's two things that happened in the race. Yeah. Two very big things that happened in the race. So, and I'm not going to say anything because I don't know how much you want to talk about that.
So give me a rundown. So talk me through the whole DSing process, and then we'll talk about the race itself. So give me a rundown for anyone that's listening that doesn't know what DSing is. What does DS stand for, by the way?
Domestic sportif.
Okay.
So essentially, it's really the guy. If you've watched the Tour de France and different tours, so you'll have a guy in the team car. Okay. So 1 second, hold on. So you got the guy in the team car. He's like the team leader as such. He's the race organizer. He knows all the races. He knows all the details of all the other races, all the other riders, and all the other teams. And so he's the one calling all the shots. So you'll see him in the car. He's on a microphone, like on a walkie-talkie sort of thing, and you'll see the races, and they have the little earpiece in their ears. And so he'll be saying, "You go do this. You go do that." Stick on his wheel. Go the climb now, back off, go help someone else, bring them up, that kind of thing. And so that's really what a DS does. And so we simplify it to DS because that's easier to say. So in this particular case, so in Zwift, if you're not familiar with it, what you can do is you can fan view, which means that I can see Ryan in real time in Zwift. Okay, now there's a couple of little technical things, like hoops you got to jump through to make that happen, but we can cover it off in another. There's
enough YouTube videos out there that tell you that
talk how to do that. Yeah. So suffice to say that I can see Ryan in real time. So it's not a delay. It's not a 5-second delay, 10-second delay. I see him in real time. Now, I've got a second screen here that I'm looking at as well, which is Ryan's on. And what I've got is I've got Zwift open, so I can see Ryan in real time. And then on my second screen, I've got Zwift power up, so I can see who the races are, what their power numbers are, 20 minutes, 15 seconds, that kind of thing. But then I've also got source for Zwift. Okay, so again, if you know what source is, then you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't know, do a quick search for source for Zwift, especially on YouTube. You'll find a bunch of videos about it. Do yourself a favor if you can, go ahead and get that set up, because there is a bucket of information you can get that you can then overlay on Zwift and see all this stuff. Okay. Now I'm talking draft numbers, Weebel, which is like Ryan asked me this, what's your Weebel, your Weebles? It's basically your what's it? Something balance. I never remember what the W stands for, but it's basically like a battery of how much energy you can put out and then recover. So it's like if you think of it like a battery, you expend the battery and then you can recover again, then expend the battery, that type of thing. And I could see all the other races, and I could see what their wheelbarrows were. So I could see who was in the red, who was in the orange, who was in green. I could see what their 15 minutes were, their 15 seconds, their 1 minute, their 5 minute, their 20-minute power. So I could see in real time what it was that they were all doing. And so having that all that information, of course, Ryan and I are on Discord, and I'm feeding all this information. Well, I'm giving him the information he needs to hear, I guess is what I'm saying. So I give him the information he needs to hear at the particular time that he needs to hear it. Well, I'm hoping that's the case anyway. And so I'm giving this information.
Yeah.
And it's really helpful, because if you think you're hurting and you go and you look at, you're on Zwift, you've got no idea that everyone else is hurting. You can't see it.
Yeah.
But I can see it, because I can see all these red numbers popping up. And so you know that there's no one else is going to try and smash the front. Look, maybe there's one person that does it, but big deal. But if you don't know that and you think, I can't hold on because they're all going to go, then someone's saying, no, they're not going to go because they're all dead too, gives you some sense of, I can hold on then. And that's maybe all you need is an extra 15 seconds sitting in the group that you start to recover, you start to feel a bit different about the race. And then you go, actually, I can hang on, I can keep going, So
the thing
that was the whole idea of the DS.
Yeah, the thing that I got the most, what I enjoyed the most from you DSing in my ear was, there was a few things. The first off was the obvious one, which is having someone by your side, or virtually by your side. Yeah, it felt great. I felt like I already wanted to expend, instead of putting 100% in, I wanted to put 110% in. Because I didn't want to let you down, because you'd gone out of your way to help me. So I had to kind of up my game. So there was that aspect, which I think comes back to your streaming point, which is when you've got people watching, even if it's just one person who's given up their, 45, 50 minutes of their time to come and do this with you, it's something which you kind of want to repay through effort. So I had that, obviously, was my biggest takeaway. But then the other things as well, it was really nice, even though a lot of the commands you were giving me were, how can I put it? I don't think they were obvious, but I think they were, they reaffirmed what I was thinking in my head, which is nice. Yeah. So when you're doing something, which, there was a few occasions where I was already in the process of doing it, you were telling me to do it. And then as I did it, you went, oh, great, you're already doing it, which sounds counterintuitive. Why would you need someone to tell you to do something which you already know? But it feels, as a novice, or as someone who isn't, an A+ rider, I found that really reaffirming. I found that confidence building, knowing that,
man, it's so helpful.
Yeah, knowing that you, who has got far more experience in this than I have, was on the same wavelength. It was great. That wouldn't have happened 6 months ago, a year ago. That wouldn't have happened. I would have been doing crazy stuff, and you'd have been reining me back in. So
because it's so easy to second guess yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And I do that all the time. I'm racing and I'm thinking, I've got I'm in a place where I've got a terrible issue, which is I don't want to sound, I need to step my category up, which is why I'm trying to get my score up. And I'm in a place where I'm finding my races, especially in the low end C, I'm finding them quite easy. I don't get dropped. I've got no risk of being dropped. And unless I have a disconnection problem, spoilers, I don't get dropped out of the lead pack. So when I'm in a place, I'm sitting there thinking, this feels too easy. Maybe I should be doing this. Maybe I should be attacking. Maybe I should be pulling off the front. I do start, these dodgy thoughts start entering my head. So having someone there just saying things like, you're doing well, you're recovering well, your speed is good, you're in the perfect position. I got loads of that out of you, and I found that great. Yep. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, look, it's the same thing that I've experienced in TTTs as well. So when you've got a good DS in a TTT, just telling you, okay, guys, Nathan, you're going to go to the front next. You're going to be on there for 30 seconds. You're going to back it off at 15:30. Just even though you're going to do that, having someone telling you just allows you to free that little part of your brain up just to focus on something else, like taking a drink or, doing something else. And so it's just so, I can't tell you how helpful that I've found it. And I'm glad you found it helpful too, because it's
massively.
It was great.
One of my best experiences on Zwift. It's one of the most enjoyable races I've ever had. And not from a minimum effort perspective, because it was actually one of this race I set my best ever 20-minute and 5-minute power PR. So this was an FTP effort race. This wasn't, I actually set a new FTP. My FTP went from 249 to 252. So
yeah, that's fantastic.
It was one of those races where,
look, the effort that you found yourself having to do was just fantastic. It was a privilege just to watch it, really. Like, you just don't see that sort of effort, but like people putting in that kind of effort, you just don't see it often. Yeah. And it was great to be able to just be there and be a part of it. So
I appreciate you saying that. We had a bit of drama in the middle, didn't we? It was all going really well up until the end of lap 1. So there was a bit of a drama. I'll mention. Yeah. It resulted in me having to put in a max effort, section at the end of lap 1 to even have any hopes of this race ending in any way, shape, or
have hopes of you actually finishing it, let alone doing anything else.
Having it end in any other way other than a rage quit. I had to put a max effort, full on slog.
Yeah, man. How you didn't? I'm just.
You haven't seen the video yet, right? And I know you were there live watching it, but there was a moment where the disconnection happened, and I think it affected, because this isn't a spoiler because it's not the end of the video, but there was a disconnection, right? No. Got disconnected. I had two options, and that was to do something I've never done before, which was to carry on and catch, or quit, rage quit. The third option was to wait for the people that were like 30 seconds behind to catch on, which, rubbish. That's not a race that I wanted to be in. I don't want to be in racing for 15th, 20th place. However,
shit happens. Like, sometimes that happens.
Absolutely. I get it. Yeah. I've been there a million times. This has been my life on Zwift up until now, racing for ridiculous, protecting my 67th place. However, there was a moment where that happened, that disconnection happened, and I didn't know what to do. I panicked, was spinning out. I was doing all kinds of crazy stuff on the bike, trying to hit OK on screen, get rid of the error message. And you must have had a disconnection as well. Something happened with my Wi-Fi. There was silence, radio silence from ground control. I had nothing from the NASA directive. It was. You heard me say I'd had a disconnection. You started.
I got that part out.
Yeah, you were like, "Oh man, that's awful," and started laughing. Because nothing else you can do, because you know how frustrated I'm going to be. There's nothing you can say to me that's going to help.
Yeah, man, you're done.
Yeah,
I thought you were done.
Yeah, that's it. But then you went radio silent, and I wasn't sure whether it was because of a disconnection.
Oh, okay.
Or whether or not you were just like, I'm done with this loser, and then walked off. Yeah. But I just started. I just went for it. I just started sprinting. But then I sat down. I quit. I sat down. You didn't see this. I sat down. I'd blown my aero. I'd used my power up because the pack is now 14 seconds up the road. It had gone round the corner. I couldn't see them, and I sat down. And then you burst back into life and went, "Go for it!" And I just stood back up again, and I went for it. And if you hadn't said that at that moment, I wouldn't. That was it. I was done. I wouldn't have gone for it.
So, okay. So what I want to hear is that. Talk me through that 10 seconds between you not thinking you could do it to that final corner just before the escalator.
Okay. So there was a few moments. Some of them are quite funny, actually, watching it back, because I am taking it incredibly seriously, and I've never seen myself like this in Zwift. I got something happened. I don't know what happened. A switch was flicked. I think it comes back to the original point, which was because you'd have taken your time to help me with this, I felt I needed to make an effort. I didn't want to just roll over and die. And, I would say it was because I was also recording, but I pretty much record all my races. So, probably only 10% of my races make it into an upload. I had to drop out. I could hear in your voice, you were like, "I can't believe this." You were laughing.
Man, I was devastated.
I could tell, and you were laughing as well, but you were doing that, not sure what to say because I'm royally hacked. What do you say to someone? There's nothing you can say.
Yeah.
And then you went radio silent, nothing. So I started sprinting, full on sprint, and I was in the wrong gear because my dropout had meant that my gears were like stuck at some ridiculously high, and because I'd gone completely to zero, I now had to wind myself back up again. Then I hit my aero power up thinking that was going to be some Mario Kart boost that would get me up there, which obviously never happened. And then I just sat down and I was like, nothing I can do. It's just one of them things. Quit, give up. It's not my fault. And I actually thought about waiting for the pack behind to catch me and then just still enjoy the DSing and use it as a learning experience. Immediately your radio at that point, if it had happened 5 seconds later, might have been a different story. But immediately, as soon as I sat down with the adrenaline still pumping, I heard, "You've got it down to 10 seconds. Go for it."
Yeah.
That's what you said immediately. And I was like, okay. And because I was sat down, I was now not out of control anymore. I wasn't doing the erratic sprinting that I'd originally done. I'd sat back down.
The monster watts,
Yeah. And I said, right, just hold 350 watts for as long as possible. See what happens. Yeah. And I just held it. And I just stayed there. And then we got over the bridge towards the underground station, which is where the escalator descends. And you were counting me down. And you were going, right, you're now at 9 seconds. You're now at 8 seconds. And then you started laughing, going, I can't believe you're doing this. You're now at 7 seconds. And it was, I found it really motivating. And then you said, which cracked me up, you then went, have a micro break, you might blow up, right? Literally,
I was worried that you were going to just top yourself.
I was like, good idea. That's good DSing. I'm going to rein it in a bit. So I dropped it down from 350 to 250. I had my micro break. Literally, as you finished the sentence, you went, okay, that's your break over, push. I was like, Jesus Christ, that was a micro break. And then I immediately ramped it back up to 400 watts. And I just tried to hold 400 watts, turn the corner, and you were like 3 seconds, 2 seconds. And then you went, if you don't make it onto them before you hit the escalator, they're gone. You need to be in their draft. Literally, as we hit the escalator, I felt, do you know when you hit the draft and you can feel your speed? Suddenly, like the computer game, it is literally like a Mario Kart boost. You can feel the computer game kick in and your speed ramp up. Not ramp up, but you understand as a Zwifter what I mean.
Yeah, the speed stays constant, but all of a sudden you're not having to put as much effort in to maintain it. Yeah,
and that's it. And I did it, and I latched on, and I was like, holy moly!
Seriously, one of the biggest comebacks. That was just it was inspirational to watch that. Actually, if you do nothing else, go watch the video. It's just that part alone should give anyone the motivation to try and smash it the next time they feel like they can't do it, because I know that I'm going to use that. But then, of course, so after the escalator, you had a moment, maybe 10, 15 seconds where you've come down through the tunnel.
I had a micro break.
And then you're out to the countryside. Well, longer than a micro break. And then you come out to the countryside, and then you've got that bloody, that
climb.
long, well, not long, but that drag up again over the hill there. And I thought, oh my God, I'm thinking to myself in my head.
Did you think I'd get up that?
I don't know. I didn't think you could do it. Because I thought
that's two of
you'd
us.
put out that much effort.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't think you can do it, but I'm going to tell him he can do it.
Yeah.
And let's see what happens,
Yeah.
And so, absolutely. Yeah, I said to you, keep going. And because then I messed up because I misinterpreted the information I had in my screen.
Yeah.
And that said that,
but that wasn't
that you were halfway up.
That wasn't your fault. That was because of the glitch in the gradient. So on Zwift, you have the gradient meter, and it does it fairly often. It's happened to me on the Epic Com a few times in races, where it tells you you're going this way, and then all of a sudden, last second, as you veer off, it will change. And that's exactly what happens.
Changes,
I knew it had caught you out. I just didn't have the words to be able to say it to you.
You couldn't say it. Yeah, exactly. But then when I saw you make it over that first bump, with that front group, I thought, bang, man, let's go. We're on.
Yeah.
You can do this.
We're on like Donkey Kong. I couldn't believe it. I just don't know what happened. I've never done anything like that before. I never would have tried. I've tried doing breakaways before and I've blown up. I've tried escaping the pack. I've blown up. That's the first time I've actually, done anything like that. And I wouldn't have done it if at that moment, it was that exact moment. And this is the power of a DS. And if anyone else wants to know how to DS, you can watch all the instructional videos you like, but you need to say the right thing at the right moment. And this is a prime example of someone being there saying the right thing at the right moment. And if it wasn't for you saying go for it, I wouldn't have gone for it.
Man, it was, and that's the thing, because in your mind, I'm thinking a whole bunch of different things. I'm looking at a whole bunch of information, and I'm thinking, I don't know, man. I don't know if you can do this. And then it's like,
well, you've seen me.
Then I see
you've DS'd me in a race, not quite to this level where we'd gone into it with the intentions of actually trying to get a win.
Trying to get your win.
You've been on there just having a laugh with me while I've been doing a race, and there was a moment where you went, go for a breakaway, see if you can do it, and I blew up, didn't I? So you've seen me try it before and not succeed. So why would this be any different? I was thinking the same. Why would it be any different? No, like that's the thing. And of course, one of the things, and if you've, for the people watching, if you've watched Ryan's race videos, he has a penchant for trying to break away and going off the front. And the one thing I kept telling him was, don't go off the front, get off the front, sit in the back, And so, and racing is much like that. Racing is very, very much, it's a lot of discipline. You've got to, even if you feel like you can do it, don't do it. Sit in the back, be very strategic in what you're doing. And we did that. You did that for like the majority of that race up until that disconnection happened. And I can't believe how perfect you were racing it right up until that moment. That's why I was just completely, I was just gobsmacked when it happened. Yeah.
And then, as you say, a light was, a switch was flicked, and man, you were on. You just went, and it was great. It was just fantastic to watch.
And I'd held back just enough to be able to get back up that climb as well. I hadn't. Yeah. If I'd have had to have done that, longer, I don't think
a third time.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to get dropped again, so I had motivation.
Could you imagine if it was like Box Hill, having to go up Box Hill the second time?
Yeah.
With it, that's a kind of that's just a misery. But So
I think
right up until that. Yep.
Sorry, go on. What was you going to say?
I was going to say right up until that point, like till you got to the top of the little climb, and you're starting to go back down. That was just it's, as I said, it's one of the most fantastic races that I've watched, been a part of, had any participation in, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Truly inspirational.
I appreciate you saying that. Unbelievable DSing. It really was. It was a masterclass in DSing. I really hope the video comes across like that as well, because it was.
I can't wait to go watch it now.
Yeah,
actually.
It was a lot of fun. It was editing it back. I just had a big smile on my face making it. I will say to anyone that's listening to this that feels that Zwifting can be really hard. I think everyone feels that, which is one of the things that really helped me in this race. And I won't give the ending away, but one of the things that really helped me in this race was breaking it down and only thinking about the next section. So when I had that disconnection and I had to do that mammoth effort, I didn't care about winning. I didn't care about even finishing the race. I got to be honest, I wasn't even thinking about the hill. I just wanted to get to the back of the pack. When I hit the back of the pack, I then, again, didn't think about winning or even staying with the pack. I just wanted to get up the hill. That was my priority. And once I got to the top of the hill, it was then to stay with them. And I just kept breaking it down. I just kept, thinking to myself, what's the worst that can happen? I'll just do this next bit.
Yeah. You're absolutely spot on. And it's a little thing that I think a lot of people don't kind of think about. And so you're absolutely right. You break the race up into little segments. There's a flat spot, or there's the dirty suppressor. I'm just going to focus on that. Or there's the S's. I'm just going to focus on that. Or I know that there's a little bump coming up, so I'm going to get ready just for that, or there's a sprint. And so that's all you focus on. And I think when you do that, when you start breaking it down to those little individual components, you're not thinking about the entire race. You stop kind of thinking about how fatigued you are or how tired you are. And then you're just focusing on just that little segment. and then you go to the next one. And I think that's a really good point you make. And a lot of people maybe don't do that.
Yeah, and I'm talking about it from experience, because I would in the early days especially, but even recently, I would psych myself up in a race. I'm going into a race with better riders. One of the reasons I don't look at Zwift Power, because you can look at Zwift Power and see someone's got a 1,500 watt sprint. You can see someone's got a 10 watt per kg 5-minute effort.
Yep.
It doesn't mean anything, because on that day they may not have that in them. That might have been the best they've ever had 6 months ago when they were fresh, and it was on a group ride. I don't know. I don't know how Zwift Power works, but that's one of the reasons I'm not someone who reads into data too much, because I can psych myself up. And one of the ways in which I also do that is by looking at the length of a route, staring at a climb on the climb gradient that appears on the maps now. It's a new ad from Zwift, which is a blessing and a curse, because you can see tactically what you've got coming, so you can pace yourself, but you also look at that. It's a climb. What's it called? It's a party. When I was racing in that recently, I was just staring at it the whole time on the flats, thinking, I'm doing great now, but I've got that thing yet to hit. So it just psych yourself up. So just get through the next section.
Yep.
Break it down.
And even on those climbs, it's the same thing. I think I can guarantee you that if you look at every climb, the way they're designed, they're broken up into stages.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a little tip here. Like the volcano. The volcano is a good one. The volcano climb is broken up to 3 stages. So then what you do is you just break them down into those 3 stages. And so you may think, oh, it's all a climb and I'm in the red the whole entire time. But if you look at it more closely, you'll get a little flat section. And it might only be like a little micro rest. It might be for 3 seconds. But if you get to that point and you're sort of still meeting your goals for the race, then all you've got is 2 segments left.
Yeah.
And so, it's exactly that. And so the only climb I think that I've not found that is probably like Ventop. That's just a misery of 1,500 meters. And so it's like, just sit in, don't bother about it. Just do the best you can.
Yeah, I like Ventop. I've got a psychological thing where I like things that are just, I know what to do and I know what to expect, and I can just get my head down. And the repetitive nature of Ventop feeds into how I like to do things. I like repetition, I suppose, is what I'm saying. But it was a really, really good race. I just want to say, again, I know I've said this to you 100 times. I just want to say thank you for being such an awesome DS. You were brilliant. And
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Really cool. If you haven't watched it, guys, I know I'm plugging my own video here, but please go and watch it, because
I know, I'm
really proud of it.
I wouldn't normally say this. But absolutely go and watch it, because if I had hair, it would have been blown off. It was fantastic.
So Nathan, I'm very conscious of time on the length of this episode, but it's a really good episode and I don't want to end it. I could talk to you for hours and hours about this stuff. I mean, I love nerding out about Zwift, especially with someone who I know loves it as much as I do. But there was one thing that you mentioned, which was streaming. Now, the reason I wanted to discuss this with you, other than the fact you're trying to persuade me to do a live stream, was I've actually contacted Ed Laverick, who is I think I've pronounced his surname correct. For anyone that doesn't know, and I'm sure everyone that Zwifts and is watching this episode to this point will know who Ed is, but he makes some really, really awesome, YouTube streams and videos about his cycle. He's an accomplished cyclist, really, really good. Oh yeah, really, really good, like A+, and is like a hill climbing champion. He makes some awesome. One of the videos I watched of his recently was his gravel IRL bike ride around his local area, around a part of Wales. And I don't know if he lives there, but he, amazing, lovely. Seems like a really nice chap. So I've asked him to come on and be a guest on one of my future episodes. Now, I watched his stream last night. He did the Tour de Zwift snowman route last night. Came first, absolutely blew it out the water, and nearly completed it in under an hour. And I don't know if you've ever done the snowman. It's got the grade on it. It's got part of the Epic Com. It's also got part of their It's a Climb, I think. It's a party climb. It's huge. It's
It's a huge bag of misery. That's what it is.
Yeah, and he absolutely smashed it. And he was at the head, and it cracked me up. There was loads going on, loads of drama. But he's a beast. He's got an FTP.
Yeah.
Of
he's a climbing machine.
Yeah, he's got a really high FTP of like 400 and something. And he was racing this other guy who took because it's a group ride. The Tour de Zwift is classed as a group ride. It's not a race. Yeah, but everyone races it, especially at the front.
It's always a race.
Ed was going for a time. He wasn't particularly rating other people, so he wasn't bothered what other people do. He was just going for an FTP effort, finish it in under an hour is what he was going for. And he was riding. This other guy was trying to keep up with him, and he turned on his coffee break as he was climbing the grade.
Oh
yeah, on stream. No. You can imagine what chat was like.
No, you don't do that.
Unbelievable. I mean, it is a group ride, so you are allowed theoretically.
Yeah,
but
you can.
You've got to have
cricket though.
It's not cricket, is it? You don't when someone's doing a max effort. You don't put your coffee ride on.
And then you're chasing them down, and then you put a coffee on a climb.
On a climb.
I mean, okay. To be fair, I've done it. I did it in the festive 500 over, Christmas, New Year's.
Yeah.
And there were just a couple of group rides I was doing. I think it might have been with the Robo Pacers. And I thought, I'll bugger this, man. Yeah. I'm putting a coffee break on the climb. But in that kind of scenario against Ed Laverack, you just don't do that.
No, when I did the PRL4, I did Eric Min's PRL4 at the end of December. And I never used a coffee break once because it was part of my challenge to finish it completely off my own steam. But I also respected the fact there were people there pushing themselves to their limit using the coffee break, and that's perfectly acceptable for me. I had no issue. There was a couple of occasions where people because when you do a route that long that took me just over 6 hours, when I do a route that long,
6 hours,
I was still. Towards the end of it, you form around a group of riders who we had no links when we started. By the end of it, we were firm friends, and we were all chatting and messaging each other, which was one of the best things about that.
Isn't it fantastic? Isn't that like it's just amazing when that happens?
Yeah, unbelievable.
When you're right in the mix of it. Everyone's hurting, and there's like maybe it could be 4, it could be even 2, like 4, 5, 10. Different people that you're all sort of riding. You end up finding yourself in that group.
Oh, it was so good.
And
there was about
chatting.
There was about 6 or 7 of us, and we were all chatting. Yeah, firm friends. It was brilliant. And there was one. There was one lady, Joanna, her name was, and she had fallen back on the second to last climb. She just didn't have the legs. Okay. But we were all in a place where, I can't speak for anybody else, where I didn't want to slow down. I wanted to maintain the pace because it was easier to maintain the pace that I was doing rather than back off and wait for her. But there was one other guy who was an A rider who was riding with us. He backed off intentionally with the intention of letting her latch on, and she used her coffee. Yeah. She used her coffee break, and then he dragged her back up to the group. Which, if there's ever a moment where coffee break comes in and is perfect,
when it works,
that's what they're for. But not when you're riding Ev Laverack up a max effort climb.
No.
There's a time and a place.
And if you're a good rider too.
Yeah. There's a time and a place. So streaming.
Fair crack. So streaming, tell me why you think you shouldn't do it. This is what I want to know.
So this is a tough one. I don't think I'll be very good. I'm happy talking like this on podcast. I make my own videos because they're edited within an inch of their life, and all my commentary is scripted. If I'm live, I just don't.
I'm writing this down.
Yeah,
not very good.
I'm not very good at live streaming. That's how I see it. It's probably a bit of imposter syndrome, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know whether my audience would have an appetite to want to see me. For every race that's a great one, like the one we had this week. You stop writing stuff down. For every race, like the one that I had this week with you, that's awesome. There's another 10 that aren't. And
and
if I'm racing I'm streaming one of those races, am I giving bang for my buck? Am I giving people that are watching value for money?
Yep. Okay. I hear you saying. That's it?
Yeah, well, that, and I don't want to destroy my YouTube channel by going from making this is what I'm selling. I'm not selling it because YouTube's free, but you understand what I mean. From this is what I'm putting out there, and now I'm doing this. I don't want to confuse people. Do you understand what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, no, he's saying.
Why are you writing this down?
So
I feel like I'm...
because I want to go back and I want to address each of these points.
Okay.
So I've written these down. All right, so let's tackle the first one. Not very good. Well, it's clear to me, and it's probably clear to all the people that subscribe to your channel, that you are very good. Now, when I'm conscious when I say this, because I don't want to make it sound like...
You don't want to be too nice.
No, it's not that. Like, there are so many people that stream, like really good riders that stream their races on YouTube and they get no views.
Yeah.
All right. So I just want to put that out there. The reason I think you get your views, and I'll go toe to toe with anyone in your comments that says otherwise. The reason why I think you get great views on your videos is because of your honesty and the fact that there's no pretense.
Yeah.
There's just none of that in your videos.
Yeah.
All right. You go into every video with, that wide-eyed, innocent, sort of childlike, thought process on the whole thing about, well, how hard can it be? Let's just go and do it.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's really engaging. I think lots of people love watching that. Now, the only thing I think better than watching a very meticulously edited and not cultivated, what's the word I'm looking for? Manicured.
Yeah.
Video, the only thing better than that is seeing that same person being put through the ringer in real time and having all those same thought processes that we all go through.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm going to reference back in a second to a couple of the races. There's a couple of streams that I did, especially earlier on, which I think will resonate with you. The second one is that imposter syndrome. Well, it's clear that from that point of view, you've done so much. And I pointed this out to you the other day when we were looking at the Zwift Racing.app. So if you go to the website zwiftracing.app, if you're not familiar with it, if you've got a Zwift Power account, you should automatically have a Zwift Racing.app account as well. Tim Hansen, who runs that website, has a much more defined categorization using the Velo system than what Zwift Power has. Anyway, that aside, I was pointing out to you that from October to now, you'd gone from bronze, the bronze category, which is like, I think the lowest. I'm not sure if there's one lower than bronze, actually. You're in silver, and now you're sitting at the 994 mark, which when you get to 1,000, you'll tip into gold. So in 3 months, you've gone from bronze to silver to gold, practically. And that's a testament to how good you are. Like, and that in this race we were talking about earlier on is another testament of how good you are. And that idea you've got of, oh, I'm not that good, and why would people watch me because there are so many other people that are much, much better, is because everyone has gone through that same process. And if they haven't gone through it, they are going through it. Okay. Well, they get to see.
Let me ask you this. Sorry? Then. So one of the things that sits at the back of my mind when I talk about imposter syndrome, I respect what you're saying, and there are some excellent Zwifters out there that stream, and sorry, I'm 34.
So hang on one second. Hold on.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, go.
So let me just come back to some of the things that you've just said there. So in regards to the imposter syndrome, what I mean specifically is there are, and I know you've already touched on this, there are some excellent Zwifters out there, people that win A+ races. Absolutely blow my mind. I mean, I've shared a couple of videos with you recently of people that I've been watching that are, Ed being one of them.
Oh, they're monsters.
Yeah, I mean, Ed's a bad example. And what I mean by a bad example is he's got a huge following. His live streams are massively popular, and I can see why, because he's a very engaging character. His races are massively exciting, and he doesn't just sit in the pack. He's constantly attacking, which I love. But I would feel the need to do more stuff like that. I wouldn't want to just sit in the pack in a live stream. I would want to be doing some crazy stuff. So that kind of then puts me off wanting to do it from that perspective, because I like enjoying my races for what they are, rather than I never go into a race with the intention of this needing to be in a video and then make it exciting for that reason. I only ever race And then if it is exciting, I'll make it into a video. And if it's not, I delete the file.
Just bin it, yeah.
Yeah. So I look at it from that perspective. But then I also look at it from a perspective, which is there are some very, very good, engaging Zwifters who are very, very capable, and they're not getting the view account, which I think they deserve. Yeah. Why would mine be any different? Do you understand what I mean? That's kind of where my head's at.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm not having this conversation because I want anyone in chat to go, do it. That's not, you know, if I decide I'm not doing it, which I have up until now, I just would never do it. If, you know, I'm not going to bow to peer pressure, but in the same respect, I really appreciate your opinion on it. And it's sometimes nice to talk about stuff like new ideas like this. Yeah. You know, this is a different, this would be a very different direction for my channel if I did start doing Zwift streams.
Yeah, I think, coming back to that imposter syndrome, you're right. There are tons of other people out there that do great races. They can do breakaways. They can do, 1,200 watt sprints. All this. I can't do any of that. I'm not saying that I've got a big channel by any stretch. I don't. But at the same time, I think that you have a really loyal subscriber base, like the people, your fans, the people that follow you for a reason, and they're going to follow you if you do it, an edited video, and they're going to watch that, and I think they're going to watch you live. And I think coming back to that crazy stuff, you don't have to do crazy stuff. You don't think you got to make it entertaining for people to watch, or they're going to turn off. Look, they're going to turn off, or they're going to watch because of their own reasons. You can't change that. But the crazy stuff isn't what people watch for. The crazy stuff is, what they watch for is they see something in you that they see in themselves. Yeah. Or they're hoping to see something in you that they see in themselves, or vice versa. So what people want to see is they're not alone when it comes to struggling and being in pain and thinking they can't do it. They want to know that someone is willing to put themselves out there. And this is one of the things I got out this really early on, because I had the exact same questions you did. Yeah. When I first started doing this, and there wasn't really a lot of other people doing it. When I first started doing it, 0 views, like just no one, and they're like, well, why am I doing this for? Because there's so many other people that are out there that are much, much better than I am. But then I started to think, even if there's one person that goes, well, hang on, if he can do it, I can do it. Yeah. And even if you're not doing crazy stuff, but you're just racing smart, or you're riding smart, or even if you do try, I'm feeling pretty good, I'm going to try for a sprint, or I'm going to try for a breakaway. I think people get a lot more out of seeing that live than they do perhaps out of seeing it being edited in a way that makes it feel as if it was kind of all planned. Yeah. Like to see you think about things and adjust and change, and your facial expressions and the reactions you get, you're the only one that can portray that. No one else can do that, no matter whether it's Ed Laverack or anyone else. Yeah. No one else is, you can't do that, or they can't do that because you are you. And I think people are they're going to love to see and watch you go through that range of emotions from the start of a race. Yeah,
I do go through quite a few range of emotions in a race, especially in that one we did this week.
That would have been an awesome live one, Yeah. But then to overcome adversity, or even if you what do you call when you fail? I don't want to say the word fail, but if you can't overcome it,
how you deal with it.
You get dropped.
Yeah, how you deal with it.
It happens, man. It happens, yeah. And I often, that's happened very recently on a lot of my races. You watched one the other night where, we're just doing 10 laps of LaGuardia Loop in a handicap race, and I got kicked out the back after like the 5th lap, Yeah. And that, doesn't happen often. And you feel bad. You feel bad people are watching, but then everyone that has started watching the race was still watching it at the end, even after I'd been dropped, and they watch it because they feel there's a closeness, a connection there, because everyone fails.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say. And you sell a good dream. It's something which I am considering. I've got to be honest. It's something which I've thought about on and off for the past year.
You should absolutely do it. Absolutely do it.
You know, I got inspired by watching Ed's. I mean, I get inspired by watching yours. I get inspired by watching other people's.
Oh, mine aren't special.
Yeah, but you're technically,
your
streams are excellent. You know, you put a lot of effort into them, and I think you deserve a bigger following. And you know, if you're listening to this, guys, go and check out Nathan's streams, because he does. You know, technically, you put a lot of work into your streams. They're very well.
There's a bit of setup. Yeah,
they're very well made.
But at the same time, you know, and when we had him on our podcast, it was fantastic listening to him and talk about all of that experience. And he's a fantastic guy. Don't get me wrong, but you know, it's much the same as if YouTube only ever existed because one person made a great video, and everyone else thought, well, I'm not going to make a video because I can't make a video as great as him.
Yeah, not everyone can be Mr.
Nothing
Beast.
ever happens.
I get that.
Yeah,
and
exactly. You know, it's a perfect example. So
yeah, it's one of those things where I'm thinking about it. It's good to talk about it. That's why I make this podcast, is to talk about things that don't make it into my videos. I
would absolutely cheer you on in a race if you did it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Every single stream, you'll be in there, will you?
Yeah. I mean, don't make it crazy time. Like, not 3 in the morning for me anyway. Yeah.
I knew he was going to say that.
I love you, man, but I'm not going to wake up at 3 a.m. to cheer you on.
So do it as long as I do it. As long as I do it, that's on Aussie time.
Like a reasonable time here in Australia.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Listen, it's really good to talk through this sort of stuff with you. I've really enjoyed today's episode. Nathan, I wish you all the best for your New Year's resolutions this week.
Thanks, mate.
This year. Yeah, go on.
Hold up.
Yeah.
I did mean to ask you, and I don't think we really talked about it, but what were your New Year's resolutions? Do you have any for this year? Or
so I have covered this off in previous videos. I actually made a video going through some of them this year, but you know, I've already mentioned it. It's to become a better cyclist. My main one is to become a better Zwifter and a better cyclist. Now, what I mean by a better Zwifter is I already feel that I've kind of moved out of noob territory. I think
you're well out of that now.
Yeah, so I need to stop. I need to stop kind of flying that flag, I think, because then
you're right in that solid intermediate, high end intermediate now.
I appreciate you saying that. High end intermediate, I'll take that all day long. All day. That's not where I see myself, but I do agree.
No,
I do agree. I need to stop flying the noob flag because I think that's starting to feel a little bit, you know, not quite right. That cap doesn't quite fit me anymore. So I need to work on that. Now I want to get my FTP up. That's my other aim this year. I'd really like.
What's your aim?
300. I'd like to get a 300 FTP. I'm at 252, and I'm going to say this really quietly. I'm at 252. Right. I haven't done an FTP test in 16 months. So
16 months.
Yeah,
I'm writing that down.
I'm conscious that write that down. I'm conscious that if I maybe do a ramp test, I might be higher than 252. But I'm not saying that out loud because that might be my overconfidence.
If you had to put money on it, if you had to pick a number, what would it be?
At the moment, I'm happy with 252. I've only just got it. And that was in a race. And I don't think a race is probably a good indicator of what you can achieve, because there's other than that maximum effort that I did this week, you then ease off. I mean, as soon as I hit them on the escalator, I stop pedaling. So if I did that in an FTP test, my FTP would plummet. So, I'm going to do an FTP test. I want to get to 300. If I don't, it's not the end of the world. I'd rather aim for the stars. And if I get an FTP of 270, I've done a good job. So that's my aim there.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you get to the point where you beat 286, come and let me know, because that's the highest I've ever gotten.
286.
286.
Okay. All right. Well, it's on. Let's do it.
There you go.
That's my.
There's a benchmark for you.
I like a competition, especially with you.
Yep.
I've noticed you haven't mentioned our race, which I understand. We need another one. We need a rematch, don't we? We need a rematch.
Last race you and I did. Do you want to talk about that? Or?
No. We'll leave it. We need a rematch. We need anyone that's watching, go and watch his stream, Nathan versus Ryan Condon. You'll know what I'm talking about. I want to get my park run under 25 minutes. Not going to talk about that now. Anyone that's waited, anyone that's still here listening is here for Zwift, not for park runs. And I want to work on my hill climb book. So I've got my I've got my trusted. Let me just show everyone. So I've got my trusted hill climb book there. I want to work on this.
How many have you ticked off so far?
I've only done 2. two of the 100. Listen, I only got it. I only started doing it as winter kicked in, and the 2 hills that I did in the pouring rain. So
I saw that. Yeah,
if I can do them in the pouring rain, I'm going to absolutely smash it in summer. So I want to get some of them tips. I'm not going to get 100 done this year, by the way. That's just an enjoyable. I've decided to use this year for I'm treating it rather than my normal over the top ridiculous challenges that I do, and I've still got a couple of ridiculous challenges in here, like the National Free Peaks. But rather than my full on ridiculous, kill myself, I'm using this year to enjoy my newfound fitness freedom.
Yeah, man, for sure. Absolutely. Celebrate it.
That's where I am. I am. So look, I'm going to wrap up this episode, Nathan. I want to say thank you for joining me. Is there anything you want to add?
No. What was I going to say? I'm going to go to Adelaide, catch up with the guys there, and then I'm heading over directly after that over to the Victorian High Country and just talking about hills. I'm going to be tackling, hopefully, this is the plan at the moment, which is Mount Hotham. So if anyone is familiar with the mountains in Victoria, we've sort of got, 2 or 3, the largest ones in Victoria. Mount Hotham's the largest one I've done, which is about 1,500 meters. So we're going to tackle that. That's probably not this weekend, coming the next weekend. So I'm going to put a video out and hopefully that's going to be a bit of fun. So, looking forward to that. 30 Ks, 1,500 meters up.
30K, 1,500 meters. That sounds like a really, really good day out. Nathan, I just want to say,
that's going to be a big one.
I want to say a massive thank you for joining me on this episode. Will you come back and join me again in the future?
Absolutely, mate. Can't wait.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
It's going to be awesome. Thank you very much, Ryan. Appreciate it, buddy.
Absolute pleasure. Guys, I want to say a big, big thank you for listening to this week's episode. Longer than normal. However, I've got a rule, which is if the conversation is flowing, don't stop the podcast episode from going. I don't know. I just made that up on the spot. But anyway, it's a really, really good episode. And I want to say thank you to Nathan. Thank you for listening. And I hope to see you in next week's video and podcast episode. Cheers, guys.